What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another video. If you're new here, I'm glad you stopped by. Today we're going to be going over a nice little short video of the top 3 upgrades to add power to your 7.3 Powerstroke. That is my baby girl, my 2000 F250 7.3 Powerstroke that I have quite a bit of work done. I got videos on pretty much everything I've done to it so far. But today's video is kind of a more basic discussion of how somebody who just got a 7.3 or somebody who's had one is looking for a little more power, how they can go about doing that in a relatively cheap and simple way. So we're going to be going over that. Alright, so we're going to be kind of starting with the basics here. My advice, I guess I'll put a disclaimer out. This is completely my opinion, my advice from my own experience. I'm not a professional mechanic by any means. This is my second Powerstroke that I've owned, and I've done an ungodly amount of research on these trucks, but by no means am I professional. Yeah, alright, so we'll get on with it. My number one mod that I would do, or upgrade I would do when looking to add power to your truck, will be adding an aftermarket exhaust. The number one reason for this is as you start adding more power to your truck's going to be wanting to breathe and, I guess, exhale better. So with the exhaling part, you need to be able to get those hot exhaust temperatures or exhaust gases out away from your engine, and so an upgraded exhaust is a nice assurance for allowing your engine to just breathe healthier. Alright, for me, you can see here that I have an upgraded exhaust. What my setup is a 4-inch straight pipe all the way back from the engine of the truck. So I have a 4-inch down pipe off the turbo, which is pretty much the biggest one that you can fit onto these trucks without messing with the firewall at all. It's a 4-inch straight pipe all the way back to the tip, which I believe is a 6-inch tip. Tips don't really do a whole lot. It's basically for looks. But that is my exhaust setup on this truck. I'll give you guys a little bit of a sound clip so you guys can see what it sounds like. Besides letting the engine just breathe better, they sound phenomenal. If you guys like the turbo whistle, you guys are going to want to go with the straight pipe. Mufflers really do what they're supposed to do, and they muffle down all the sounds of the engine, but also the sounds of the turbo. I know some places or some states you have to have a muffler on them for emissions. I'm lucky enough that where I live, I don't have to worry about any emissions on my truck because it's a diesel. But yeah, I'll give you guys a little bit of a sound test now so you guys can see what it sounds like, get an idea of what a 4-inch straight pipe on a 7.3 sounds like. So moving on to the next part of making your truck breathe better. One thing, no, my truck's not super lifted. No, I'm not a midget. I'm actually in a wheelchair. Still driving this truck, but that's why the truck looks so massive in the background. It's just a level truck, but I am sitting down, so I guess technically I'm only like 4 foot something. Alright, so back to the next performance mod of letting your truck breathe better is your air intake. Just like the exhaust, you want to be able to get more air into the truck like you want more air out of your truck. So adding a performance intake of some sort will help that out. I'm going to show you guys my setup. we go. If you've never seen the inside of a 7.3 engine bay, this is what it looks like. A little cluttered, but nothing compared to the new trucks. There are a number of different types of performance intakes or cold air intakes for the 7.3s. My recommendations are to stay away from K&N intakes. They're a great intake for gas engines, but because they flow so well, along those lines though, because they flow so well, they tend to let some dust and debris slowly work their way through the filter, which is very bad for your turbo and your cylinders. I've heard a lot of bad stories about K&N filters dusting turbos on these trucks. So with the number of other good options there are out there, I would recommend going with those. My current setup that I have right now, which is about as basic as you can get without keeping it stock, is called a 6637 air filter. I've heard them called big honkin' air filters, but it's basically a 4-inch inlet pipe here and this big old girl. I'll pull it out for you. Big old filter right there. But it's about as simple as you can get. It's just a big filter that allows more air flow through it while providing pretty good filtration. Eventually down the road, I'll probably end up upgrading to another filter, either AFE or S&B. As far as performance goes, this one does everything I need it to, but the AFE and S&B filters just look nicer, look cleaner. But if you're looking for a cheap and easy way to go to start off with, you can't really beat this filter setup. So we got those two, kind of, most people call them supporting mods, but I'd say these are probably the two first upgrades you should do to your truck if you're looking at adding more power. You want more air coming into the engine and allow more air to get out of the engine. So now we're going to go to the main performance mod, which is going to be the chip or tuner that you can add to the truck. So as far as chips and tuners go for these trucks, there are a few different styles. There's a little T6 turn chips, there's bully dogs, there's a variety of different things. Right now on the market, probably the best chip that you could possibly buy is a PHP Hydra from Power Hungry Performance. This chip has a number of benefits that I will tell you guys about as soon as this car passes by. Alright, so as far as benefits go with the PHP Hydra, is probably the number one, and why it's so good is you can download tunes yourself off the internet from a variety of different tune sources, whether that be custom tuning or from the PHP database, which I'll go on in a little more depth once we get inside the cab and I'm showing you the chip itself. As far as setting up the chip, this won't be too much of an in-depth video. If you want that, I can do it, but there's also some other good resources from PHP that they do a good job setting it up or showing you how to set it up. But just basic terms, you have your PCM, which is down here pretty much on your firewall, right down below your brake master cylinder, or pretty close to it. And that is your PCM, which is your computer for your truck that you're plugging the chip into. It's basically taking that PCM out and setting it up for the chip. I'll show you where it is from the inside as well. So here we are in the truck. We're going to start down here, showing you where it all hooks up. Right now you can see that is the PHP Hydra chip. That is actually how you control it and how it's all kind of your interaction with it and how you change tunes on it. Get the flashlight out, but underneath it you can see right here, I guess I don't even know if I need the flashlight, but you got that ribbon cable which goes into the back of your PCM. or ECM, PCM. I think it's PCM, I can't remember off the top of my head, but goes in right off the back there, and that's where it's all hooked up to your actual computer. It stays in there. You can change the tunes on the fly, not too hard. Like I said, there's some really good in-depth videos on how to actually hook that up, but that's not exactly the point of this video. I just want to give you guys an idea of what kind of things you're actually looking at to be able to do this. So we're going to get in, and I'm going to kind of show you some of the functions of the chip. So in the truck, you can see that I have the chip set up right here on my dash. It's got 2 buttons for switching between the tunes. Super simple, super easy. You can switch on the fly. There's a few tuners out there that are just a pain, where every time you want to change the tune, you have to stop, pull over, or whatever you're doing before you leave, switch out the tune and let it reprogram into the system, which takes anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes. It's just a pain in the butt. As I said with this one, it's a true switch on the fly. I would recommend not trying to switch while you're on the throttle, but coasting down the road, I always, or all the time, just give it a little switch. When I'm letting the truck warm up, I run it in stock mode, so it's basically a stock truck. We're not trying to get any more power out of it while it's still warming up. And then once the oil temperature gets to a certain temperature, usually around 100 for my liking, I'll just switch it into the performance daily driver mode, get a little more power, and we're good to go. So the benefits of this is, I guess, if you're new to the diesel world, it's not like a gas engine where if you get some tuning, you can get a little more power out of it. But with a turbo diesel and tuning, you can go from anywhere from a stock truck to close to 100 horsepower over a stock truck with just the flip of a switch, which is just absolutely incredible to be able to get that kind of tuning and upgrades from a simple install like this. I think the chip itself was around 300, if I remember correctly, which in the scheme of things, and as far as upgrades go on these trucks, the price for what you're actually getting is unbeatable. You'll never get a different upgrade or another upgrade that will give you this much improvement over drivability for such a low cost. Another super nice thing about the chips or programming is it's not just tuning the engine, you're actually tuning the transmission. So it's a pretty nice upgrade, especially if you're going to be towing. You can add a little bit more power, but if you're towing with an automatic transmission, you can get it tuned so that the transmission itself actually stays in the power band a lot better, or a lot more of the time. So you're not searching between gears, you're not dropping out of your power band. It just makes the daily driving, towing, performance, racing, whatever you're doing with it, it just makes it a lot better of an experience overall. As I mentioned earlier, the great thing about this PHP Hydra is that it can be tuned from a variety of different sources. So with my experience, I bought this chip and used the stock tune from PHP Hydra for about a year, and overall I was pretty happy with those tunes. But like I said, you can get custom tunes from professional tuners directly geared for exactly what you want. And so for me, I just ended up upgrading my injectors in this truck. If you haven't seen the video, it's on this channel, or I will try to remember to link it below in the description, or maybe up here somewhere. But I just upgraded the injectors in my truck, and because of the upgraded injectors, I needed custom tuning. And so with this chip, I got in touch with one of the custom tuners, which for me, I chose Brian Jelich, which is at Jelly Built Performance, one of the biggest names in tunings for these trucks. And I told him what my setup was, what my fuel system was, what injectors I was going with, everything about my truck, and he built custom built tunes specifically for my needs. And if I want to make any changes, I can just go and email him or call him and say, hey, let's change the shift point on this tune from here to here, or any of that stuff, and he's willing to work with you. And so you can really dial in your system or your truck for exactly what you want. which is probably the biggest benefit of running this style of chip, is it makes it so much easier to be able to do that, because all you need is an internet connection and a connecting point to that chip. But yeah, so I mean, as an overview, I guess technically the intake and exhaust aren't big performance mods, but they are really important supporting mods if you're starting to add power to your truck. Getting more air in, getting more air out, and then you can start adding the horsepower. Another thing I would highly recommend is getting a set of gauges. I can do a more in-depth video of mine if you want. Obviously that monitor wasn't on, but I have the Edge Insight. I absolutely love it. It makes it so much easier. You don't have to worry about all the different wiring, but that's for another video. Yeah, these are my top 3 upgrades I would recommend for power upgrades for the 7.3 Powerstroke. They're easy, they're simple, they're pretty cheap, and they have a huge impact on the actual drivability of the truck. If you stuck around this long, thanks for tuning in. I got a lot of content on this truck already on the channel, and I hopefully have a lot of content coming. So if you're new and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Don't miss out. To my current subscribers, thanks for tagging along again. I'm looking forward to the next video. Not sure quite what it'll be yet. Maybe we'll do a little drive test with these new injectors and show you what they can really do. But leave a like on the video. It helps the channel grow tremendously. If you have any questions, or if you just want to say something nice, leave a comment. I guess if you want to say something mean, you can also leave a comment, because a comment's a comment and it helps the channel grow. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next video.